Hello to everyone, welcome back to the Python course. This is a continuation of last video that we speak about for loop and while loops in Python, and by just adding some spice of continue, pass, and break statements in Python programming, we're just gonna get more deeper and deeper into the control flow in Python programming. So if you haven't checked the last video, go and check it out and come to this video. So this picture that you're just watching it is a control flow statement of continue and pass flowchart. And on the left side, we have continue flowchart. So as the first step is just gonna enter the loop, and it's just gonna do an expression of the loop. So if the expression it is false, it's just gonna exit the loop. And if it is true, it's just going to continue. So it faces the continue statement, and if it is going to continue, it's just going to come back to the expression of loop. And if it is not going to continue, it's just going to go through the remaining body of the loop. Let's go through the pass flowchart. So as the first step, it's just going to enter the loop. It's just going to do an expression. If it is false, it's just going to exit the loop. But if it is true, is it going to pass or is not going to pass? So if it is true or if it is not true, it's just going to go through the remaining body of the loop. Why? Because it is passed. It is obvious of the keyword name that it just passes the stuff. It doesn't matter to it if it is anything special for the code. It's just gonna pass it. This is the continue that we told you how the flowchart works. Let's get through the code. We get the best stuff in the code by doing the examples. And as the first statement, we're just going through the break statement. And break statement is used to exit a loop prematurely. When the break statement is encountered, the loop stops and control moves to the next line after the loop. So this is what does a break statement does. What does a break statement do? When the break statement is encountered, the loop stops and control moves to the next line after the loop. I've just brought for you guys an example by using a for loop, and here I've just defined my variable I, and here again I'm just gonna use range function. Why? Because it is super useful and essential, and we're just gonna work with it. So I've just defined the range function. It starts from 1 and it stops at 6. I mean at the 5 number because it's not gonna do the 6. So let's get through the example, and here I've just brought for you guys a break statement. And here I've just defined a for loop, and I've used something called I. This is just going to be my variable name in the range of 1 up to number 6. And here again, I've used a range function. Why? Because it is essential, and I'm just going to repeat it till you guys learn to work with it, because it is a useful function. And here I've just defined it, condition controlling. So I just say if my number or I variable it is equal to 3, continue the body of for loop by breaking. So by breaking, it's just going to exit the loop. It is not going through the break statement. And as it breaks, in the continue of the code, we have printing the I or printing our number. Let me just run it to see what is the output. We only get 2 outputs, but why and how? So it starts from number 1. We know that this is a list from 1 up to number 5. It starts from number 1, it created, it goes through this, and I say if the number or I is equal to 3, just gonna go break. So the number 1 it goes is not gonna be break, and it's just gonna be printing I equal to my I, or the I is my I variable or my number. So it's just gonna print 1. It's just gonna come back to the for loop, and this time it's just gonna go through the next number, which it is number 2. So if 2 it is equal to 3, just break it. It is not equal, so it just print it. It comes back, and this time it gives 3. So if 3 equals 3, and yes, 3 equals 3, and this time break. So it breaks the loop and exits the loop, and there is not going to be continuation of the loop that we have just defined. So this is actually the logical reason that it just shows us 2 of the number of outputs. Let me just change it to 5, and let's see the output, and this time we get 1, 2, 3, and 4, because from number 1 to number 4 is not going to be equal to number 5. So this was how we included a break statement in a for loop. Let's continue with the continue statements. Wow, what a sequence. Let's continue with the continue statement. First of all, let's see what is continue statement. The continue statement is used to skip the current iteration of a loop and move to the next iteration without terminating the loop. So pay attention. It's just gonna iterate of a loop, move to the next iteration, but without terminating the loop. Let me give you guys an example of continuous statement. So again, I've just used the same stuff, and I say for I in range of 1 up to number 6, if the number is equal to 3, just continue. What does continue mean? Continue means skip the current iteration when it is 3. So it's just kind of like a jumping. I'm just gonna run it. Let's see the output or the results. 1, 2, 4, 5. The 3, it is last. Why? Because it's just gonna start from number 1, and 1 it is not equal to 3, so it's just gonna skip the continue. It's just gonna print the number. 2 it is not equal to 3, it's just gonna print the number, and it reaches 3, but this time 3 equals 3, and it's just gonna continue. Continue means skip the current iteration when the logical controlling it is equal. So it's not gonna print me anything because it's just gonna continue. And continue is just like a jump. It's just gonna continue the statement that we have just defined. So it goes through the 4 and 5 number that it is available in the range of the numbers that we have just defined. So let me change it to 2, and we get the output 1, 3, 4, 5. Why? Because when the number it is equal to 2, it's just gonna continue the for loop that we've just defined. So it is really useful. This, as I told you, this was again the same example for the break statement. And let's get through the pass statement. First of all, let's see what does pass statement do. So the pass statement does nothing. It is used as a placeholder for future code. You can use it in a block of code where Python expects a statement, but you haven't written one yet. So this was the logic between the pass statement and again the same example, this time for the pass placeholder for your future codes. Let me just run it, and here we get the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we get all of the available outputs, and this time this controlling condition, which I say I equals 3, it does not, but it is a placeholder for your future code. So this is gonna be saved in the memory of the code and in the data blocks of the code, because this it has the logic of conditional controlling. So this is only used for the future code. It's not gonna be super useful, but I have to tell you guys that what is pass statement. The more usage of these statements is for the break and continue. And finally, a good example, a harder example that I just brought for you guys, break statement with nested for loop. So first of all, let's define the nested for loop. And in the last video, I taught you guys how to use for loops and nested loops. So again, I'm just gonna use the same example as the last video. I'm just going to define a for loop as the range, as the outer loop, and in the second loop or the inner loop, I'm just going to find the j in the range of 2 up to 6, and pay attention that these variables, it must to be different. So this is I, this is j. And in the continuation and the body of my second loop or my inner loop in my whole nested loop, I've just brought a break loop, and this says break the loop if j is divisible by I. So this it means if j it is divisible by I, and the result of the division it is equal to 0. So when two numbers are divisible, when the output of their division it is equal to 0, what you should do if this it happen? Just break. Don't continue the whole loop. Let me just run for you guys to see what is the output. So it's just gonna start it. It gets 3, 2, 4, 2, but this time it's just gonna be 4, 3, and the next output was 4 and 4. And when the code itself 4 and 4, it just break the result of the code, and it didn't continue. So this was a good example in nested loops. And finally we got to the conclusion part. And the break, continue, and pass statement are useful for tools for controlling the flow of loops and conditional structures. Understanding when to use each of them is key to writing clean and efficient Python code. So pay attention to try your best to write and make some great and clean coding for yourself and for the future stuff that you're just gonna put in your resume, work with them, or maybe teach them later. Clean code, it does matter a lot. And learning the control flow, it does matter a lot. I mean the complex control flow, it does matter a lot. By using all of this stuff together and kind of like mix them, it improves your programming skills and solving different stuff. And this was everything that you needed to know about these 3 statements. I wish you guys enjoyed the video and learned some good stuff from it. Don't forget to check out my other videos and other playlists in my YouTube channel. And don't forget to like, subscribe my channel, and leave me a comment. I wish you guys the greatest of the greatest time. Stay high.